Welcome all you homeschool sports enthusiasts. If you're keeping track, this is Homeschool Basketball video number 5, and we are currently on a stretch where we're covering the final rankings from the 2014 and 15 boys homeschool basketball season. It was just an amazing year, and we've covered number 1, Oklahoma City Storm, number 2, Houston CHSM, number 3, Lakeshore Thunder out of Wisconsin, number 4, Indianapolis Wildcats, and number 5, Kansas's KC Metro Mavericks. So we are on our way as we're to national number 10, but this is number 6. For those of you who have been watching the previous videos, you know that there are 4 teams that received consideration for national number 3. 3 of the 4 teams have been ranked. The final one to be ranked is the Nashville Central Christian Warriors, also known as the NCC Warriors. And they are your 6th ranked homeschool basketball team from the 2014 and 15 season. The Nashville Warriors finished with a 2015 Class 5A gold ball. Their first ever gold ball in the varsity boys history. And this is Coach Mac Morrell's 2nd year at the helm for varsity boys. And they bettered their finish from the 2014 national tournament, where they got bounced in the Class 6A semifinals. This year, they won the Class 5A Gold Ball Championship before eventually falling in the Gold Ball Showdown Series quarterfinal classic against the Lakeshore Thunder. It was a great game. It was an overtime thriller, and it was one that, if you're an NCC Warrior fan, of a matter of what could have been, and I'll talk about that more in just a minute. Before I get too far along, I want to just mention that this same cast only graduated 1 player, Joey Highland, who's a longtime NCC Warrior. He graduated, but they returned all their starters. And this same cast won the first ever gold ball in the 2000 for the boys 14 and under and boys 16 and under. And those were both undisputed titles for the NCC Warriors. Never had been done before. Coach Morrell coached them. And they've now won their first ever gold ball as a varsity program. And Coach Morrell coached them. And they were so close in their 5th bid to make the national Final Four. They were so close. And that was a game where those of you NCC Warrior fans, you understand that your team was undefeated this season against homeschool competition when Caleb Hollander suited up. And right before the game, Caleb had tweeted that he was unable to go. And the reason he was unable to go at the time wasn't really known. We knew he had an injury. We didn't know a whole lot about it, but Coach Morrell and I had a chance to talk on the phone, and he shared with me that he made that decision because he just felt like Caleb's career as a basketball athlete was more important than playing him in a game as a junior where the winner went on to the national Final Four. I can't agree with him more. That's the job as a coach, is to look out for a player's best interest. In Caleb's case, he had a partially torn PCL. For you, that's in the knee. And when he returned home, he found out if he had continued playing, he would have required surgery. As it is, just rehab. So, sigh of relief for all you NCC Warrior fans, for all you that are fans of Caleb Hollander, who was the Junior of the Year in homeschool basketball and the preseason favorite. I know it's preseason, but my early season favorite for the 2015 and 16 homeschool basketball Player of the Year, also known as the Maravich Award. And he's one of my favorite players to watch. 6'7", Division I recruit with offers on the table, and I just really look forward to watching him play. And I'm so grateful that he worked with his coach, and they made the decision for what was best for his future, and not just the next game. And it was a hard loss. A game that they got down against the Lakeshore Thunder in the Gold Ball Showdown Series quarterfinals. They got down 10 points early on. You could just tell that they were missing their star, but they showed so much heart and poise, and a big part of that was Will Dean and C.J. Herbert just stepping up. And they went on a 20-point run where they actually had a 10-point lead in the second half before eventually losing in overtime. And it was a heartbreaker, but I think that the fact that they played so well without Hollander. Hate to use the analogy from the Cleveland Cavaliers, but it really was. I mean, if you're a Cleveland Cavalier fan, you lose in the NBA Finals in Game 6, but you knew that your stars, many of them were on the bench, maybe not your best player in the Cavs scenario, but in the case of the NCC Warriors, clearly their best player. And what a valiant effort. The next game they lost just in the Gold Ball Showdown series in another thriller against the Kansas City Metro Mavericks. Coach Sullivan told me that was just a great game. Coach Matson from Lakeshore Thunder told me that C.J. Herbert, he didn't know his name, but he said number 0 was such a threat. He knew it going into the game, and he tore the Thunder up. He got foul trouble on their 6'10" stud Ricky Wright. Just couldn't stay out of foul trouble. Another one of the stalker kids tried guarding him, couldn't guard him, and they just didn't really have much of an answer for him. And he delivered. And like I said, Coach Morrell said that Will Dean stepped up in such a big way. The bottom line with this Warriors team is the Class 5A gold ball game was won with Hollander on the bench in foul trouble, and they knocked off the number 1 seed in Class 5A, the Tulsa Noah Jaguars. And it was just an amazing game, played in front of about 3,500, maybe even 4,000 people that were able to watch that game as we were getting ready for the dunk contest and the the three-point shooting finals and the announcement of All-Americans and some finalists for some of these new awards, including Junior of the Year, and it just created a great atmosphere. And it was such a big win for the NCC Warriors program, and they did it with Hollander on the bench. And then the next game, as we mentioned, he was unable to go. But it's such a big step for the program to win that gold ball and for the 5th time make it to within a game of making the National Final Four. They won 25 games, this NCC team did, 25 games this year, and I believe that 30 games is very doable for this team in the 2015 and 16 season. They returned Caleb Bell, Caleb Hollander, Roman Otsby, Liam Morrell, and I got to take a look at my notes. I try to memorize them all, but along with C.J. Herbert. Those 6 players all started at some point during the year, and all of them returned along with some great young talent. And Luke Morrell, from a point guard from the 14 under gold ball team last season at NCHBC 2015, and then also Keenan Cox, who's returning from a right foot injury, and I say right foot, I'm sorry, he's returning from a foot injury, and his return will be a boost for this program. This summer's been an interesting one. Longboarding has not been the friend of the NCC Warriors team. Coach Morrell shared that there's been several injuries from longboarding. So you NCC Warrior players and parents that are watching this, stop the longboarding. Wait until after this season. Too much on the line. It's going to be an amazing 2015 and 16 season. We'll talk just a little bit more about the 2014 and 15 season. This NCC Warrior team opened up as the preseason national number 3. They were leapfrogged by a couple teams that really stepped up at the national tip-off tournament in November, and when they did, they moved past NCC. NCC then got leapfrogged by one more team going into the December rankings, and they spent the rest of the season, January and February, along with the December rankings, at national number 6. It's where they ended up for the year, but this team, as we saw, had the potential to do much better. In fact, I felt like after watching all the teams play at Nationals, I felt like the winner of the Tulsa Noah and the Nashville game was going to be the Storm's top challenger, and I actually felt that NCC was just a little bit better than Noah, even though Noah had taken HCYA Warriors when they had Justin Jackson at the Nationals in 2015 to the wire where they missed a couple threes that would have won the game. I still felt that the NCC was better than that squad, and they proved it. But the injury just it was too much for them to overcome, and it opened the door for some other teams. But what's exciting about this 2015-16 season is Caleb Hollander and Caleb Bell are the only seniors. So even though they lose a lot going into 2016 and 17, they still have so much talent coming back that this year's team has the potential to take them to the promised land, take them to that national Final Four, and once they get there, anything's possible. The key will be to not be on the same side as whoever the number 1 overall seed is until the Storm are beat. the current dynasty in homeschool basketball, you would assume that's who it's going to be. But once the season gets going with the national tip-off tournament in November, someone might knock off the Storm and take over the #1 overall seed. And with the Storm losing 6 of their top 7 players, it's very possible that the Oklahoma City Storm will not be the #1 team in the nation going into the month of November rankings. And so it'll be very interesting to see, will NCC Warriors do enough during the year to stay in the top 3? They don't traditionally play a lot of homeschool teams early or often during the season. They used to go to the tip-off tournament, haven't gone as much recently. It would obviously, if they were to go, I would think that they would have a very good shot to win that tip-off with all that they return and the fact that some of these teams, their continuity isn't going to be the same. But I don't anticipate NCC going to tip-off, so we'll see what happens. Someone can win that. They could take over #1 overall, and it would be interesting to see if a team like the Storm or in Nashville would do enough during the year to catch up with them. The bottom line is this summer is going to be so important as Caleb Hollander rehabs, some of these players recover from their longboarding injuries as they get geared up for what could be the season that the Nashville Central Christian Warriors break into that national Final Four and maybe even get to the undisputed national championship game. And if all the cards line properly, they could even take home that undisputed national championship banner. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be coming back later next week and going over who the teams that are receiving consideration for the national #7 are and who did take that spot. It should be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching.